In the US, we have a unique opportunity with criterium racing to hone your sprint. I think that bike handling skills is the #1 thing. Consistently being in that chaotic situation. Criteriums are perfect, they're always chaotic. I think that's the start to sprinting. Essentially, when you're on your bike and you're in the peloton, in the closing meters, there's a lot of movement. And you need to be very solid, you need to be comfortable with brushing into other riders in a safe and effective way, continuing to move forward so you don't also impede your own chances. Mountain biking, BMX riding, cyclocross, all these things kind of hone in on that balance and feel on your bicycle, and that you basically call on all those skills in the end of a race. And then from there you kind of move to the more progressive positioning where you're not hitting out into the wind too early, and you're also not too far back that you get really boxed in and can't do your sprint. It's always dependent on the course. A lot of corners, maybe you need to be further forward. If it's a headwind, maybe you can sit a little further back. So it's always dependent on the course. The easiest answer is that you need to be the first one across the finish line. So. And then on top of that, definitely you need the explosive power. Weight training in the winter is important, but also doing some explosive kind of weight training. Nothing super specific off the bike, but just try to be well-rounded and have that balance for sprinting. And then during the season, cross training with stuff like mountain biking, where you're always punching up hills. Even, like I said, I ride BMX. You're always doing sprints, you're always moving. And then on the bike sprint training, nothing super specific, but just doing downhill sprints, uphill sprints, stop sign sprints, and just kind of having fun on your bike is all that explosive effort. I train with my brothers at home, and we're always pushing each other off the road and sprinting for signs, and there's all kinds of fun that's had. But again, all that stuff, when you're having fun on your bike, to me, it translates perfectly to sprinting. You're always moving, you're always dynamic, and in the sprint, that's what's important. I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, so yeah, just it's crazy, it's chaotic, it's fast, but in the end, when you can pull off a win, that's the payoff. So you can kind of see that my bike's set up in a pretty aggressive position, which definitely helps with the bike handling and the aerodynamics for a sprint. But essentially, it's all about producing power and producing it quickly. If you're climbing, you're kind of in the tops and you're seated, and you're trying to be consistent. In the sprint, it's all about explosiveness, really similar to like weightlifting, like you're doing a deadlift kind of, where you're forcing down. Usually, you start the sprint with your dominant foot, and you're forcing down, and you essentially pull. I pull kind of both hands into the bars, try to limit the side-to-side movement a bit, which is kind of a loss of forward motion, and just put everything into my feet. I run a pretty low stem setup, pretty long stem setup, partly due to just my position on the bike and my body, but again, also it gives you that aggressive position so that you're over the front wheel. When you're kicking forward rather than pulling up and kind of losing momentum. When you're sprinting, you're always hunting for the finish line, so you're always kind of looking, and maybe you tuck your head in when you're pulling hard, but yeah, you kind of always keep your head up and look where you're going.